Thank you, Shamim. Thank you, Dean, for those very generous comments. And I'm very happy and honored to be with you today. So that was our photo after 20 years of reconnecting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing in front of you today in all humility to share with you my 2.5-year journey of philanthropy. A journey which has been exciting and demanding at the same time. A journey which has been most fulfilling as it transforms one school for the better, and a journey which has completely transformed the way I see life. A little bit about myself. I'm not a trained social worker, neither am I an educationist. As Shamim said, I work for the I'm proud to say the biggest software giant company, Microsoft, based out in Kenya, and I'm the procurement manager for West, East, and Central Africa. The job keeps me on my toes every day, and I always have a heavy schedule ahead, but despite this, I always make time for play, and I do that by doing what I love most, which is traveling and painting. I have always been an avid traveler, and while I was at graduate school in San Diego, with not too much money to buy air tickets, I remember taking the Greyhound bus, crisscrossing many American states, and what a thrill it was for me whenever I landed in a new city. And those are some of the cities that I visited. And I remember one of my roommates in college giving me a nickname, Tourista la Tourista, meaning tourist of all tourists, because I barely spent time with my roommate. I was always on the move. And I took many, many photographs, to which I still use to this day to paint on canvas. Somehow, I got bitten by this traveling bag, and when I returned home to my very beautiful country, Kenya, I wonder if anybody in the audience has been to Kenya. Yay, I'm sure you'll agree with me that it's a beautiful country. Awesome. So the same travel bag that I got from America led me to the world of philanthropy in ways that I never imagined. And this is my story. It all started with an invitation from my friend. Her name is Nina, and Nina works in Nyanza province. Nyanza province is located southwest of Nairobi, which is about 300 miles from Nairobi, which is the capital of Kenya. It borders Lake Victoria, which is the biggest lake in Eastern Africa. And Nina had always told me of the beautiful sunsets that are reflected on the lake. Being a painter, this was just one of those places that I really wanted to go to. At the time, I was painting a sunset-sunrise series of different parts of Kenya. Thus, a weekend visit to Nyanza was too good to resist because I knew I was assured of capturing the daybreak and the sun escaping over Lake Victoria, as you can see from the slides over there. I was amazed at the rugged hills that span the blue waters of Lake Victoria, and the following morning saw us take a boat ride to one of the islands in Lake Victoria called Mfangano Island. This island overlooks Uganda on the horizon, and again, the island's intoxicating beauty enthralled me. When the boat docked, we were met by the island's inhabitants, who are mainly fishermen. They took us for a walk that brought us to one of the schools, Mauta Secondary School. It is here that my heart bled, triggered by the stark poverty I witnessed. The girls' dormitory conditions especially touched me. Given the fact that I had gone to a boarding school in my high school, what I saw was beyond shock. Never, ever, ever in my life had I seen such dire poverty. The girls were sleeping on the cold concrete floor and shared one mosquito net among 4 of them. a dangerous affair given that Nyanza is a high malaria-prone zone. As you can see from there, the mattresses were on the floor and one mosquito net and 4 girls sleeping on the floor. And right onto the right, this was like a dormitory for the boys at night, and during the day, those are the science labs. So at night, they would put up the mattresses and sleep on that. So having seen this, I knew I had to do something for these girls, but what? Then an idea struck me. My birthday was 1 month around the corner on August 8th. I'm not sure if I share a birthday with anyone here. And I decided to paint a sunrise series of the beautiful lake and auction my paintings to support the school. I received enormous support from my family, friends, and employer, and I was able to gather around an auction which I raised $6,000, and my employer matched the same amount, totaling to $12,000. My employer, Microsoft, is a matrix organization, and they encourage employees to influence change in their communities far beyond the pay grade and job description. That's the reason why they match funds for employee volunteer activities that bring change and transformation to communities. And for this, I thank Microsoft and congratulate them very much. Now back to Mauta Secondary School. Here was the scene before the art auction and the scene after the art auction. So through the proceeds, I was able to build a separate girls' dormitory, which is right to the left, top left, and we were able to buy beds and mattresses and mosquito nets, and on this day, we'd actually gone to inaugurate the dormitory. Having seen the power of what my paintings did to this school, I reflected upon my own life and I realized that I had received quality education, which had enabled me to reach my career aspirations. My parents raised my sister and I with love, strong values, and a belief that with a good education and a whole lot of hard work, we could achieve anything. Therefore, if I could replicate auctioning my paintings to help other poor schools, I'd enable these children to have quality education which would propel them to achieve their dreams regardless of what background they came from. I'm also an example of what's possible from girls from the very beginning of their lives are loved and nurtured by people around them. I've been lucky to be surrounded by extraordinary people in my life, parents, uncles, aunties, teachers, who have always instilled and reminded me that to whom much is given, much is also expected. They constantly asked me, what had I been given? Was it talent, education, freedom, networks, opportunities, ideas, creativity? And how would I share this with others that did not have the same? And from my visit to Mauta Secondary School, my continuous journey of painting and helping other schools has continued. Other schools that have also benefited from my art is St. Elizabeth Girls' School over in Pokot. Pokot is the northern part of Kenya. And this actually started as a girls' rescue center for girls who had gone through female genital mutilation. And they were scared of going back home because of the trauma that they had gone through, and they found solace in coming to this little rescue center for medical purposes. And the girls started gathering into this little place, and we decided to give them the opportunity to go to school. And I was able to raise $15,000 for this school through auctioning my art, and we were able to build 4 classrooms that the girls are now able to go to school from Form 1 to Form 4, which is equivalent to, Shamil, 9th to 12th grade? Yeah, American system. So those are photos of, again, another inauguration that we went with some of my Microsoft employees who supported me in this project to open this school. And another school is Itava Primary School in Makueni District, which needed a small library and rooftops. So that was the library to the top left, and the books and the students, and the books for the primary school students to read. For this, we're able to raise 100,000 Kenya shillings, which is equivalent to about $1,000, just to furnish the little library and buy the iron sheets for the rooftops for the school. Having given you my personal stories above, today my message to you is about the philanthropy in all of us. Looking at you, I gauge that you're all people of influence. This means that you can speak up for those who have no influence. I also see you as serious and informed partners in the work of global understanding and international development. But when we narrow this perception to being individuals, I shall ask you, what do you have in your hands? Is it talent? Is it creativity? Is it ideas? Is it education? Is it wealth? Is it networks? Is it opportunities? What are you doing with what you've been given? That, to me, is the primary question to each one of us. Many people come up to me and ask me, Claire, how do you do this? And to me, I really can't have an easy answer, but just to say, just do what you've got to do. And what I've learned from people is that majority of them have realized that there's got to be more to life than getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home, watching TV, going to bed, getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home, watching TV, go to bed, and probably over the weekend going for parties. Majority are beginning to ask themselves, what am I on earth to do? And again, looking at you, I see very intelligent and powerful people in society. You have a special niche, especially for the Clinton students, because you have been trained by the Clinton School in Public Service Matters. So where do we begin on some of the major problems of the world? Illiteracy, poverty, pandemic diseases. What do we do? This is a photograph of a letter that I wrote to Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, when I was 13 years old. I also keep this special portrait of President Bill Clinton because since I was young, he has always been my mentor, both as a former president and a major philanthropist. Probably it's even a mystical connection that I'm here today doing a presentation in a school named after him. I hope, Dean, that one day you'll arrange for me to meet him in person and, and I tell him what a great person he is. And to conclude my presentation, I would like to show you a picture of this empty picture frame. And I want you to imagine that there's a photograph of you similar to the one that I keep for Bill Clinton. I want you to envision 100 years from now that your grandchild or your great-grandchildren or niece or nephew or children shall be looking at this photograph of yourself and telling a story about you, of the community that you helped to transform. My challenge to you is, what do you want them to tell about you? Thank you, and God bless you.
Will you take some questions? Well, that elementary school in Kenya produced at least 2 very outstanding young people, and I hope probably a lot more. So, Shamim, good program. Thank you. Claire will take some questions. If you would raise your hand. Okay, Maggie, you got one, and wait for the mic, please.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming. That was great. You mentioned that to who a lot is given, a lot is expected, and that it's the responsibility of people that can to represent those who can't speak for themselves. Have you seen in the communities that you've worked in and done a lot of good, the repercussions of people speaking for others and misspeaking or not representing them in a way of what the people want?
Okay. Thank you for your question. In Kenya, I'm proud to say that we are a free country. We've got democracy and we can speak freely. I haven't encountered any particular instance that anybody was nabbed for speaking outrightly. So in my perception, speaking out for people because we've got influence is pretty much having a vision, a higher vision, especially for those of us who have the privilege, for example, Shamim and I, who had the privilege of coming and studying even from the US, having better education, seeing the best out of this country, and going back and influencing the same to elevate our communities. Yeah.
Question. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about your art that you sell, and by any chance do you have any pictures?
Oh, sure. I've got a website. I could probably log in really fast and show you. That's a picture of my website. And I'll give you the link to my website on my cards. And I have my story, Painting for a Cause, and the various painting series that I've done. I tend to paint on a theme, depending on what I'm painting. Also, this was the first series that I did for the Mosquito Birthday series. This is what I auctioned. So this is a very special series because it was the beginning of my philanthropy. Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Do you just do watercolors or do you do oil and
I do acrylic. I don't do watercolors, acrylic on canvas. I've only done a few oil paintings. I'm not too good on oils because I'm not patient in oils. You need lots of patience to work with oils, so I do acrylic.
Shameen's got a question.
Go ahead.
So there are very few of us who are going back, and the view of philanthropy and giving is really big in the US and is not as big back home, or is not as defined as here. So how do you think, what responsibility do we do, or what challenges do you see in the young people and the well-educated or upper to middle class young population turning and doing the same things that you're doing?
I think I would say that giving is really on an individual basis. Not everyone can give, you know. But again, I always, based on a lot of interaction from individuals, a lot of people do want to give back. It's a noble act. And from my experience back home, of course, you know where we come from, the challenges and everything. There is great appreciation with the young people who've tried to mentor other people. I've seen young executives even reaching out to high schools, trying to mentor those students as young as high school to bring them up. So I'd say there's appreciation from the Kenyans and the middle class population trying to elevate the people under them. Yeah.
Let's give Claire a round of applause here.